Well, hi everybody. Today we're making bomboloni, which is Italian donuts. So this is a great recipe. It's lots of fun. And we're going to do it over a long period of time, but there's going to be lots of pausing. So you'll pause the video and then come back in a couple of hours' time. So let's get into it. Make sure you read through your safety tips like always. And this is definitely a recipe where you ask for help. If you're not sure about how to do something, and particularly when it comes to frying your donuts, make sure you ask for help. All right, let's get into it. Fantastic. All right then, guys. So we're going to read through our ingredients, read through our equipment, and then we're going to start cooking. So you'll need some milk, some lukewarm milk, some dried yeast, some white sugar, some vegetable oil, an egg, zest of an orange, some vanilla, some plain flour, and some salt, and you'll need some filling. So whatever kind of filling you want to do, you can have them plain, you can pop some Nutella inside them, or you can make patisserie cream. Then you'll need some measuring cups, a stand mixer with a dough attachment, or you can use your hands, a pastry mat if you've got it, or you'll just use your bench top with some flour sprinkled. You'll need a saucepan or an air fryer, a wooden spoon, a round cutter like that you're going to cut your shapes, a slotted spoon, a cookie tray with some baking paper, some cling wrap, some baking paper, some paper towels, a small knife, a rolling pin, and a medium-sized bowl. Fantastic. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to add your milk. Start here. So we're going to add our milk, and our milk is 1/4 cup plus 3 tablespoons. Now, it does matter that you get your measurements right. So make sure you take your time to measure correctly. If you've got scales, you can always use your measuring scales as well. I'm having a little bit of a wrestle with my measuring scales. Great. 3 tablespoons. So 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. And then we're going to measure 1 1/4 teaspoons. So I'm just going to grab my 1 teaspoon of yeast. If you've got a sachet, I want you to open up the sachets and measure it with your measuring spoons to make sure that you've got it right. I'm getting carried away here. Talking too much. There we go. Fantastic. Put your lid on your yeast if you're using that one straight away. Just going to give that a bit of a swirl. We're just going to let that sit for a few minutes. It will rise no matter what you do. Okay, we're going to crack our egg open. So that's ready to go. Beautiful. Putting the rubbish straight into the bin. Then we're going to grate our orange. So you're only using the zest or the rind of the orange. You don't want to go all the way down to the white part. That's called the pith, and it's much more bitter. So that's on this side of your box grater. This is what you would use for normal hard vegetables or cheese, carrots, zucchinis. This one here is for really hard things like nutmeg or really hard cheese. This guy here, and you can see I've just been using it for some lemon, and I'm just going to do it the same. I'm going to just grate my orange. And what I do is I do a grate and then I turn it. Do a grate and then turn it just until you've got all of the orange grated. If you've got a small orange, just do the whole thing. For me, I don't mind if I'm going to zest the whole lemon. I'm going to start again. I'm going to zest the whole orange. So going around. Great. Now, if you look at your yeast, you'll see that it will start foaming up. So you don't need to stir it or do anything else now. It will just automatically foam beautifully. All right, so I'm giving a bit of a tap. You might need to use a knife or a spatula just to run down the channels of your box grater, just to loosen up the rind. That, my friends, is all flavour. So I'm putting my hand inside. It's a little bit tricky to kind of lift it up. We want that all collected. I've got it on my pastry mat, so it makes it a little bit easier to pick up. Fantastic. And that is going to bring us lots of beautiful flavour. All right, fantastic. Fantastic. All right, so once you have, you've got your yeast activated. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add our sugar, oil, egg, zest, and vanilla into our yeast mixture. So sugar, we're going to add 2.5 tablespoons of sugar into our mixture. 2.5 tablespoons. So our yeast will need some sugar to feed on. 1, 2.5. 2.5 tablespoons of white sugar. You're going to add 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. So you want it to be a light flavoured oil, not like a heavy oil like extra virgin olive oil. Just a nice light oil like sunflower or canola. Beautiful. You've got your egg that we broke before. Fabulous. The zest, that smells incredible. And our vanilla. So you'll need half a teaspoon. Double check that. Half a teaspoon of vanilla. Remember, we're always measuring at the side. Half a teaspoon. Great. Popping your lid on as you go. All right, let me clear out some clutter. Beautiful. All right, so then once you've done that, just give it a nice little whisk. You can either use a whisk or just a metal fork. And your yeast will activate. You don't need to worry about that one. All right, once you've done that, then what we're going to do is we're going to add a pinch of salt. A pinch of salt is about 1/8 of a teaspoon. We'll need that to bring some beautiful flavour to our donuts. Then we're going to add 2.5, let's make sure I'm just getting this right, 2 cups. 2 cups of flour. 2 cups of plain flour. You don't need self-raising because the yeast is going to be doing the rising. Make sure that you get your measurements correct. If you don't get your measurements correct here, you're going to have your dough's not going to be right. So let's just make sure we've got 2 cups of flour. Well, I've just added 1, and then I'm going to mix my flour into my liquid. Mix that around. Use your wooden spoon for this, or a spatula or something, just to get that liquid. Beautiful. And then we're going to add our other cup of flour. Now, this is definitely a sticky dough. So when I made the dough before, I did have to add a little bit more milk because we want it to be a sticky dough. We don't want it to be like scone. Yeah, even here, I think I'm going to add another Daisy. Just another 2 tablespoons of milk. 1, 2. It will become more sticky as we knead it. Right, so you can see it's quite a sticky dough. All right. Yeah, I'm just going to peel that back. And you will need to add some flour. I know I just said add liquid, but then add more flour, but you'll see why in a moment. All right, let me get some of my clutter out of the way. And I'm going to add my bowl to the stand mixer now. If you're going to do this by hand, then I want you to sprinkle your board and your hand. And I would suggest that you just use one hand because it really is messy. All right, so if you're using a dough hook, you'll only need to put your stand mixer on 1 or 2 at the max. If you've got a minimum, so what you're going to do is you're going to mix it for about 7 minutes. Let me just double check the recipe so I don't get that wrong. Yeah, about 7 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video, otherwise it will be very boring. So pause the video. When you're ready, you can just unpause it for the next step. All right, so you can see that my dough, I walked away. So my dough's a little bit too runny. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit more flour. Because we definitely want it to be firmer than that. Just start again. All right, looking better. All right, so I'm just going to get this right. If we get it right here, our dough will be fantastic. Beautiful. In fact, I don't even need any more dough, any more flour. Wonderful. I am going to sprinkle my board with some flour. And then I've got this beautiful dough here. You just want to roll it in the flour so that the flour covers it. Grab yourself a beautiful bowl and we're going to oil our bowl. So I've just got just a simple bowl like that. Oil or butter. It's easier to use some oil with a brush. Just coat the outside like that. And the reason we're doing this is just to make sure that when our dough rises, that it doesn't stick to the sides. Fabulous. Okay, so then I'm going to cover the dough. We're just going to roll that a little bit in the oil, just so that when it rises, it's going to go up the sides. Perfect. And then we're covering the bowl with some cling wrap. If you don't use cling wrap and you use beeswax, that's great. However, you might find that you'll just need to oil your beeswax, or just use a big enough bowl and put a dinner plate on top. Great. So what you're going to do now is pop that away for a couple of hours. The dough has to triple in size. You'll find that it will just naturally do that in a nice warm spot. You can put it on top of your fridge, or you can put it, what I usually do is turn on my oven to about 50 degrees for about 5 minutes, then turn it off, and then I just pop my bowl into the oven and just leave it in there with the door shut. It's not at 50 degrees. It never gets to 50 degrees, but it gets nice and snug in there, and our dough loves it. So do that. Pause your video. Come back when your dough has tripled in size. That's the dough that I made earlier today. So I'm going to start working on that in about 2 minutes. I'm going to clean up and then come back. But in the meantime, I'm just going to pause the video. Fabulous. Now we get to the fun part. All right, so here's the dough that I prepared earlier today, looking beautiful and bubbly and magnificent. I'm going to sprinkle my board with some flour and then just pull that out. It should slide right out if you've oiled your bowl beautifully, and just really nicely just roll that in the flour. Great. And at the moment we are at step 7. So I'm going to flour my rolling pin. Flour the rolling pin, and we're going to roll out our beautiful dough till about 2 centimetres thick. Wonderful. Now I'm grabbing myself a cutter. And I'm going, you can do it whatever shape that you want. Ideally, we want about 6 rounds. 1, 2, 3. Maybe have done it a little bit too thin, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, what you can do here is that you can grab your beautiful rounds, put them onto your baking tray, and you can leave them for another hour. And they'll rise again beautifully. Now, I'm not going to do that today simply because I'm in a bit of a time pressure. So I'm going to start baking them now. But if you put them out for another hour, what will happen is that they will puff up even more beautifully. So just popping that. Oops, the daisy. Didn't quite cut them properly. This dough is fantastic. I made it at about, I don't know, 1 o'clock this afternoon, and now it is just beautiful. It's soft and it's fluffy and pillowy and beautiful. So got that. Yeah, so good. This is just makes me feel happy. Now you can use your dough, your leftover dough, and you can roll it out a bit. Sometimes I will say to you, don't bother because it's too tough. But on this one, I think it's going to be okay. Just get that leftover dough, sprinkle my board again. There we go, that's great. Push that together. I want to be as efficient with my dough as possible. It's not as gorgeous as the other ones, but that's just doing that last minute, that, you know, using the very last of my dough. So I'm going to roll this little guy out. Yeah, he's going to be a bit of a weird shaped one. Nothing wrong with that. I might use a smaller cutter just to get him into a nice round shape. There we go. Perfect. So the longer that you leave these guys, the more that they will puff up. But today, because we want to get this beautiful video up, I am going to puff them up right now. Okay, so you're going to need a plate with some paper towel. Because when you pull them out of the oil, they are going to be oily and they'll need to be drained. So I'm only going to do a few. Fabulous. I've just got myself a bowl with some paper towel. What I've also got here is a slotted spoon. So the slotted spoon is going to make it really easy for me to pull the donuts out, hold them over the top, let the extra oil drain out. So what I've done here is I've got my saucepan, and I've used quite a small saucepan because I'm really probably only going to do one at a time, and I don't want to use copious amounts of oil. So I've used the smallest saucepan that I can get, and I've filled it up about half a litre or 500 mils, which is about 2 cups of oil. Great. So I've got everything ready. Get everything ready before you start frying, whether you're going to pop it into the air fryer or whether you're going to pop it or whether you're going to fry it. You can bake them as well. I think there's a note on the recipe. If you want to bake them, there is some instructions there how to bake them. They don't turn out quite as nice, but they are definitely, it's a safer option. So with your air fryer, you'll probably have to spray your donuts with some spray oil just to get enough oil over the donuts. So I'm going to turn my oil on with super high heat. The recipe says 170 degrees. And if you don't have a temperature gauge, which most people don't have a temperature gauge, making sure I'm doing that right. You just take a small amount of dough, like see my little dodgy guy here, and I use this as the test piece of dough. We don't want our donuts to be too hot. If they're too hot, they burn. And after all of this time, we don't want to burn our donuts. You'll also find that at the beginning of the process, it will take longer, but then the more that the oil is hot, your donuts will cook quite quickly. So I'm just going to put this little guy into the oil just to do a check. If you're frying, please make sure that you've got another responsible adult around just to make sure that you're nice and safe. And your saucepan handle just needs to be out of the way so that you're nice and secure. Now, of course, filling your donuts at the end is fairly simple. You don't even have to. If you want to, you can either make yourself some patisserie cream and pipe it into your donuts using like a Ziploc bag. You can use Nutella, you can use custard, you could use cream, or even some jam. So you can see my little guy's got a little brown spot on the top, but it's really from the bottom. He's not ready yet. Now I can see, now he's starting to, you can see he's starting to bubble up there, so that is good. That's what we're after. Put my first guy in. Okay, so you can see how it's sizzling beautifully. And remember, all of the little yeast bubbles inside, oh, see how it's floated to the surface? Then they start to expand. Oh, it's gone puffy already. So good. There's a nice, beautiful big air bubble you can see there. Oh, so good. I'm just nervous that I know when it cooks quite quickly. So I'm going to put this here so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, and this little guy, we'll pull him out already. And I just keep flipping him because they really do cook quite quickly. So you can see already that's my beautiful donut. And it is like a little bomb. So the first one that you do, remember, is your test one. I can't turn him over. So you can see how it's cooked quite dark there. I'll just give it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then I'm lifting it up, holding it over so that the extra oil just floats back into the saucepan, and then I'm just popping it onto the paper towel. All right. So then I think that I've got room for 2. Fabulous. I don't want to overcrowd my pan. So you'll find that the second ones will cook a lot faster than the first ones. Well, you can see that already. They're puffing up. They're absolutely beautiful. So I can see that some of mine are even starting to rise already. Great, that's it. I don't want it to be in there for too long. You don't want burnt donuts. Wow, that was quick. It's down to 160. Right. And you might need to turn your oil down slightly if it starts to cook too much. We want golden, we want golden donuts. We don't want, see, there we go. That one's already like crazy. Hanging onto my saucepan because I get nervous that I'm going to spill it. Holding it up, letting the oil just run off. Beautiful. I've turned my oil down a bit because it was just that little bit too hot and it was cooking a bit too fast. So I've turned it down to 140. But I can tell even now, like straight away, those donuts are cooking almost immediately. Right. So you don't want burnt donuts. You want golden. If you've got an overhead fan, use your overhead fan. Like now, that's just literally seconds in there. Let's do my last little guy. So now my oil, I've turned the heat down to 120 because my oil really did heat up quite fast. And that is it. Beautiful. It's puffing open. Look, you can see it's puffing open beautifully. Oh my gosh, that looks incredible. Oh my goodness, that is so satisfying. Great. That just makes me happy. Wonderful. And as soon as you've finished with your oil, you turn the heat off straight away. If you can move your pan to another element, do that because that will get your heat down quicker. Fabulous. And now we've got these amazing little bombolonis that you can fill. Now, if you want to fill them, that's not going to work, that rolling pin. What we want to do is put a little indentation. This was in the washing up, but that will do. All right, I'm just going to be careful because they'll be hot. Excellent. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we've got our beautiful bomboloni, and there's two things that you can do. So as I said before, what you can do is pop a little, like an indentation. I've just got a little knife, just be really careful of that. Little knife so that you can put your nozzle and you can feed through some filling into there. You can be that complex, or the other option, which is super fun, is I've just got some icing sugar. You can just sprinkle them with some, you can either do this individually. I've just got some icing sugar and going to sprinkle over the top. And then you've got beautiful, beautiful bomboloni ready to go. They look amazing. And they taste of that beautiful orange zest. So they're gorgeous. They don't last long, as in not because you're going to eat them all at once, but they're not really nice the next day. Just like donuts in the shop, they're so much better if you eat them fresh. So cook them, eat them sort of within the next, and eat them within 2 hours is probably the best option. So go and enjoy. It's a little bit of a trek doing the whole thing, but well worth the wait. All right, fantastic. All right, happy cooking.